Welcome back to Chow Time Pods. Your host, Red. I got videos today from Think Big. Men walking away. Everyone's noticing.
When we do talk about masculinity, we're often talking about it in negative terms.
True.
In some
At least on social media, yeah.
circles, phrases like men are trash or men are garbage have become de rigueur. I think the word that people most associate with masculinity right now is the word toxic, which doesn't really bode well for the whole thing.
I mean, yeah, when the two words come together, it's usually toxic masculinity. There's never any positive masculinity.
So it's hard to be convincing when you say men are in trouble. After all, look around us. All 45 US presidents have been men, and probably the next president will be one too.
This is again the top echelon, or what do they call the fallacy thing, where they're just comparing the top echelon of men to all men. Not all men were at the top of every political field or every political, party or every CEO out there. A lot of men were just normal men.
If you look at the S&P 500 a few years ago, there are actually more CEOs named Michael or James than there are women CEOs, period.
That's funny.
But that said, most men aren't CEOs and most men aren't president of the United States.
Well, shout outs to you, girl. She said what I said. She said the quiet part out loud.
It's easy to focus in on a certain set of men that are doing well and realize that the majority of men are not hanging on so well. I'm Christine Emba. I'm an author and a journalist, and my latest book is Rethinking Sex, A Provocation. So, what are the trends that have led men to struggle in this moment? I think that there are three key areas where we can clearly see that men are struggling, perhaps even, yes, in crisis.
Okay, I can see that.
Our labor market has changed over the past several decades due to globalization and deindustrialization.
And also the push for women to be in the workforce.
We have now moved towards a more credentialed favoring economy where things like brute strength aren't as valued as they used to be. Some of the jobs and areas that used to be fairly male-coded, male-centric, safe areas for men to work, the industrial sector, etc., are now kind of gone. And many of the men who used to be in those spaces are no longer there.
True. A lot more of the manual labor, like coal mining and certain other ones, are just kind of like the industry is a little bit more gone nowadays.
We're seeing a drop in employment in men, especially young men. In fact, men ages 25 to 34 are among the groups that have dropped out the most from the labor market, which is surprising because these are prime working age men. Then we're seeing issues in education. Obviously, Title IX was a good thing and it allowed many more women into the educational sphere. But now you're seeing a sort of flip from men earning most of the college degrees to women doing the same.
Yep.
There was a huge decline in college enrollment during the pandemic. And looking back at the numbers, 70% of the dropouts are men. And then you get to the domestic sphere.
I think because college isn't just built for men. It's built really for women and how women learn, right? Because we talk about it all the time. They took away a lot of the way men learn, especially with our hands. And now colleges are very liberal. They force men to learn about gender studies and all these things. And what did they say? You're the problem. You're the fault. You cause all the issues that women suffer. So men are like, wait, am I the problem? And they end up quitting life.
Stagnating wages, labor market participation, and falling educational rates have downstream effects in domestic life. 34% of young women approximately say that they're single. Nearly 63% of young men say that they are. More women than men say that they're finding trouble finding a partner, so men, who live up to their standards. You also see a little bit of destabilization in traditional roles in relationships. When you think of kind of traditional relational arrangements where there's one higher earner and one lower earner, that perspective has also shifted over time too. Almost 50% of women say that they earn as much as or more than their partner, which is a huge shift from just a few decades ago.
True.
This isn't necessarily.
I do admit this is part that men have to kind of acclimate to too, that women do make more money. Like their money makes it so that our money is less meaningful in a sense.
Really a bad thing. In the same way that women overachieving in education is definitely not a bad thing. But they have provided a sense of destabilization. Perhaps a feeling that the world isn't exactly as it used to be, and men are struggling to find what their place is in the new arrangement.
I can agree with this, right? It used to be very concrete of the path of men, right? It was very concrete. You did well in life, you got an education, or you went to trade, you just worked hard, and you had a family. That was the very basis of why men worked so hard in society. That's just gone. It eroded so much with modern society and how women view things and just how society works now. Men are lost. Men are like, shit, if I just can't do what I used to do, what do I do now? Like, there's nothing new. There's no new system, or there's no new anything to help fix it or replace what was gone.
So I also think about the number of men who seem like they've just disappeared from society. These are men who are known as neats in the sort of wonky parlance. Not
some of these men are my little nephews. Like I have nephews that are my blood cousins' kids, so they're my nephews, and I see them in very similar boat to what she's talking about here.
Not in education, employment, or training. So what are they up to? Well, it seems like they're on the internet.
Yeah.
Many of them are at home, sort of pouring out their woes to these online forums, whether it's incel forums or men going their own way discussion groups, where they talk about how dissatisfied they are with life and how it feels like the world has wronged them. Then you're seeing a lot of men playing video games, frankly, instead of engaging with the world. And that's actually compelling in understandable ways.
It really is, right? You really can understand, like, oh, if the world isn't built for me anymore and for me to thrive, why participate? I just get to enjoy my video games in solitude or just online with my friends.
It does seem like gaming gives you the opportunity to achieve goals or achieve success in a way that might not be as visible in the real world if you aren't able to find fulfilling employment. True. Or if you feel like you're left out of other societal pursuits. You also see men following what I term manfluencers. People like Jordan Peterson, Andrew Tate, and Joe Rogan, who I think are sort of stoking their sadness and fears while telling them that the world is what's done them wrong. And the thing is, I can't say that they're all bad. In fact, there is some good there. Perhaps much good. When I talk to young men especially about what Jordan Peterson and Joe Rogan give them, one of the first things that they actually cite is just empathy.
Yeah.
These men actually do seem to feel for the struggles that young men and other men are facing, and they're really straightforward about that.
Again, this is the biggest thing of why I was here, because I was struggling with this, guys. I was struggling with this, and then I've discovered The Godfather. And this is why I say The Godfather is the Godfather to me, Mr. Kevin Samuels, because he was the one that got to me. That was when I fell on my face and then my ears finally opened up and The Godfather got through. So, when I was going through all that, I was like, man, if I'm going through this, I'm just a stupid little Asian kid that's like kind of struggling in life. I wonder how many other Asian kids are struggling in life, Hispanic kids. I thought of it as like, if I can relate my story to at least a few others, and a few others can benefit from me, I was going to do well. I was like, I mean, like not do well, but I would be happy with that. And then as it's been 3 years now, the stories that you guys send me through Instagram, emails, and even some of the conversations I have with the men out there, it really shows me it was very, very sorely needed, because there were so many men that just couldn't connect with other people, couldn't connect with whatever other messages were out there until I came along, and then my message connect with them. This is why I like featuring so many different creators, because they might be saying the exact same thing as me. They might say it in a cooler way. They might say it in a lamer way. But whatever way gets through to you is what matters.
And then they also try and provide solutions.
Try.
So Jordan Peterson famously says,
clean up your room.
And while that sounds like pretty basic and straightforward advice, to me, in fact, it seems like something that your dad or grandfather should have told you. It speaks to men who don't have that father figure or that male mentor in their life who can tell them what to do.
We just did 25 minutes at 196 degrees. I got a new sauna.
And not just a script for the basics. Many of these manfluencers provide a script for how to live, whether it's a particular all-meat diet or a way of working out that will transform them into some kind of better man. And then they also talk about masculinity with a sort of specificity that makes it feel aspirational. Many of them describe the process of manhood as a challenge, as a summit that the aspiring young man can surmount while these guys are basically cheering them on. And that's appealing to men who have heard masculinity or manhood denigrated, or who aren't sure what direction to turn.
But if I could do it, trust me when I tell you, you could do it.
I don't know, man. This video is actually like kind of working up some feelings in me. You know, like I really think about the young men out there that do watch Liver King or a lot of the big alpha males out there and follow, because they're lost, right? Like unlike women, men are looking for something. They're looking for what they're missing. They're looking for what they're lost at. They're trying to fix it, and the only way to fix it is by having someone help you out, right? At least in their minds. And there's a lot of people out there that probably aren't the best fixers. I'm not the best fixer. That's why I don't really give you guys that many solutions overall of like how to approach women and things like that, because I'm not that great at it myself, right? All I can do is what I'm good at, is avoiding horrible consequences and avoiding bad choices in life. That's all I can do to help you guys out.
Anybody can become a king.
So there is definitely a positive influence that many of these influencers have had. If only that they're, telling young men, hey, don't just sit on the couch. Maybe go out and talk to girls if you want a girlfriend. Maybe make your bed and find a job, get good at a skill. But there is a downside, and it's a major one. One of the things that's notable about a lot of these manfluencers is that they often discuss masculinity or an ideal manhood in opposition to femaleness.
Men and women are different. And it's a beautiful thing. It really is.
And in fact, they often spend a lot of time talking about how feminism or feminists or female agency is what's actually bringing men down.
What exactly is going on with women's studies that you believe is fostering revolution?
Well, you go on their websites and read what they say.
Sometimes the worst of these influencers take this rhetoric to action.
Turn and whack, and I smack her.
So you have a figure like Andrew Tate, who's constantly talking about, choking women, hitting women, dominating women.
I'm going to disagree with that. He doesn't really talk about choking and hitting women, but okay.
And
I get where
more
she's coming
recently
from.
has been arrested in Romania for actual sex trafficking. So some of this advice curdles from empathy to outright misogyny. So while I think that men are worried about their place and are struggling, there has to be a different solution for them moving forward.
What's the solution? Like, this is the problem that I see a lot of women and especially conservatives and Republicans have. They don't have a solution. They really don't, for a majority of the men out there, nor do liberals or Democrats have a solution. If anything, the Democrats, they're not looking for a solution. And the Republicans are, but they're completely lost.
If we actually want to help men who are in crisis, we have to come up with a positive vision of masculinity. One that is aspirational, not denigrating. And I think a positive vision of masculinity has to be one that is specific, one that actually speaks to men. That doesn't say, well, men, to be non-toxic, you need to be more like women. But actually, what does it mean to be a man specifically? How is that good, and how can you be better? So what does a positive vision of masculinity actually look like? When I asked men themselves, young men, older men, people I interviewed, there were a few things that came up often. Strength was discussed, not necessarily physical strength, but strength of some kind. Self-mastery, leadership, responsibility, and care for others.
I think the responsibility and care for others is probably the biggest thing of a man, right? Because we are responsible for not just ourselves.
There were discussions about being led by physicality, whether being sort of inspired to great acts by sexual urges or otherwise. But the thing is, I think that many of these traits are actually scaffolded in some ways by biology. Sex drive and assertiveness are both associated with testosterone, the
Correct.
male sex hormone. And I think the key is that you have to channel these traits to be pro-social. Positive masculinity means using traits that feel distinctive to men for the good of others and for the good of society as a whole.
See, this is where I feel like it's kind of more leaning towards shaming men to come back into society and, make society great again. And that's where I'm feeling from this. I'm not going to fully jump into that right away, but that's what I'm getting right now. And I like this video and I like the way she kind of went about everything, but their solution seems to always be us.
When we talk about manhood or manliness or masculinity, we often discuss certain traits, whether it's strength or risk-taking or bravery or something like that. And I think there's a fear that by ascribing certain traits to masculinity, we might be saying that those traits can't be applied to women too. If we say that good men are strong, does that mean that women have to be weak?
No, because there's men that are weak and women that are strong. But a good man is strong. This is the problem with the feminism, in my opinion, because once we praise something, good men are strong, yes, you automatically go to the, what, are we weak? You go to that victim Olympics, that victim mentality right away because we praised ourselves or praised a certain group.
If we say that men are leaders, does that mean that women have to be followers? I think we're afraid of boxing both sexes in. The thing is, this isn't a zero-sum game. The sexes rise and fall together.
True.
As a person who loves and cares about men in my family, my friends, people I want to be romantic partners, I actually do want them to survive and flourish. And if we want our broader society to survive and flourish too, both sexes have to be doing well.
Agreed. Shout outs to Christina. I think she genuinely cares and actually well thought out a lot of these issues and a lot of these problems. And not very many women do. That's the problem, right? Like, as much as she said, it's men, and, men have to figure it out. Women have to be a part of it too. They have to want to help men. Because guess what? Men are almost always willing to help women. But when women were given the reins to be able to take care of themselves, they didn't want to help men anymore. What's wrong with that? Like, that's when the two sexes come together, is when we help each other out. That's how we built the great society that we have now. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. I really appreciate that. And I'll catch you guys next time. Ciao.